ready for me to start? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. Shabab, everyone together, Laylatul Abbas, let's move our heart together. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام على قمر العشيرة أبي الفضل العباس ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أرجو المعذرة. جزاكم الله خيرا. الله يحفظكم. Thank you very much, حبيبي. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم إني تارك فيكم الثقلين كتاب الله وعترة أهل بيتي ما إن تمسكتم بهما لن تضلوا بعدي. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. صلى على محمد وآل محمد. On a night like this, on the night of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, prior to me coming up, one shakes, they naturally shake. How do I speak on a night where al-Hussein says once he had lost his brother, al-an inkasara dhahri, that right now my back has broken after I lost my brother, al-Abbas. And I thought the most important thing that we learn from Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas in his role in Ashura is the importance of the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. And that's why tonight I want to focus on Hadith al-Thaqalain, the root of the religion. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam was described on the tongue of the Imams as being someone who was very precise in his religion. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says, رحم الله عمنا العباس عمنا العباس كان نافذ البصيرة صلب الإيمان. That our uncle Abbas was very insightful and firm on his beliefs. I ask you, in what belief exactly was he firm in? And it all goes back to Hadith al-Thaqalain, the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And there are a few misconceptions that I want to, inshallah, shed some light upon. Was there such a thing called Shia in the time of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam or not? And what does history indicate to us in regards to the term who the Shia are and where the Shia started? In order for me to understand my religion, let me go back to a role model that we can learn from. And that is Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam. When my Imam al-Sadiq says, alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullah, that Al-Abbas was insightful. It teaches me a lesson. It says that the same way Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas knew his Imam, it's also giving me that boost, that push to also know your Imam. Without a doubt, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas is the brother of al-Hussein, is the son of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and the son of al-Baneen, alayhim afdal salati was-salam. However, how did al-Abbas get that status that he has today? You know, it is known in Iraq that if anyone swears on the hand or on the alam of al-Abbas, they say that this is the red line. Unfortunately, people say, Wallah, Wallah, Wallah. I did so-and-so or I didn't do so-and-so. But no one would say the same thing when it comes to Al-Abbas. Because they know if they promise on Al-Abbas and they lie, Al-Abbas gives them a slap from here or there. It's known within the Arab community, subhanallah. That's from within the karamat, from within the blessings that Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam has. However, let's go back to the insight that Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam spoke about when he referred to Imam al-Abbasi alayhi salam. For everything that is created has a foundation. If you want to build a house, you need to have the land. In order for you to pour the concrete, you need to have land. If you want to, for example, build a phone, you need to have the materials present. In a hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam emphasizes on the importance of this fundamental aspect. And he says, لكل شيء أساس وأساس الإسلام حبنا أهل البيت. That everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, there is a fundamental aspect for it. And the fundamental aspect in Islam is the love of us, Ahlul Bayt. How does the Quran go with this hadith? Does it agree with it hand in hand? Because as we know, the hadith says anything that goes with the Quran, you take. And anything that goes on the contrary to the Quran, you don't take. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in the Quran, Allah speaks about the Holy Prophet. And Rasulullah goes out to the people and he says to them that I do not ask you for any compensation for my work except that you love my close ones. قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. That I don't ask for you to compensate me in any way, except in one way. If you want to compensate me in this way. No money is going to help me. No extra wives are going to help me. Nothing's going to help me except one thing. And that is you loving my Ahlul Bayt. So now we established that in Islam there is a fundamental aspect. And that fundamental aspect is loving Ahlul Bayt. And Rasulullah says that the compensation that you can give me for my message is that you love my Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So then let's go to Hadith al-Thaqalain. Have you ever asked, have we ever been very precise when we analyze the Hadith of the Ahlul Bayt or not? Why does Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, why does he label this hadith, or why does he label these two things as being very weighty, being very heavy on the scale? Because Rasulullah says, I left for you what? Two weighty things. Someone comes up to Imam al-Rada and he says to him, oh my master, why did Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam call the Ahlul Bayt and the Holy Quran, or label them as being two heavy things? So Imam al-Rada alayhi salam says, it is because holding on to them both is very weighty, is very heavy. And that's why in history we see that unfortunately us, the Shia, we mainly focus on the Ahlul Bayt, and we lack in the Quran. And our blessed brothers from the other sect, they are experts in the Quran, however not so much when it comes to the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. And Rasulullah, his grandson, Imam al-Rida says, the reason why Allah named, or the reason why Rasulullah named this two weighty things is because they are very heavy on the scale. So the question is, why is it hard to hold on to the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt at the same time? And this is a question that no hadith can answer. It's a question that I need to ask myself. Why is it that you aren't strong with the Quran the same way you are with the Ahlul Bayt? And that's why we need to change this within ourselves. Our Hawza in Karbala, for Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad Taqi al-Mudarrisi, he has made it from within his curriculum is that we must hold on to the Quran in our studies. And that's why he focuses on the tafsir of the Quran in many of his lectures. That's the importance of the Quran. We don't only hold on to Ahlul Bayt and neglect the Quran. And I will explain why, how the Imam alayhi salam shows us that the Ahlul Bayt complete the Quran and the Quran completes the Ahlul Bayt. They are both on the same scale. Neither is the Quran superior to the Ahlul Bayt and neither are the Ahlul Bayt superior to the Quran. Because who else translates the Quran for you other than the Ahlul Bayt? I can't, for example, let's get to the hadith where the Imam alayhi salam speaks about the ayah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلِ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And ask the people of knowledge if you do not know. So a group of people came up to Imam al-Rida. They said to him, O our master, what is meant in the Holy Quran when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks and he says, and ask the people of knowledge if you do not know? So the Imam alayhi salam says, we the Ahlul Bayt are the people of knowledge, so ask us if you do not know. That's the importance of the Ahlul Bayt. They interpret the Quran for you. They speak to you exactly how the Quran speaks. You know, they say that when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam is on his deathbed, and he says to those around him, and you can find this hadith in the books of our brothers, he says to the people, bring me a pen and paper so I can write something down for you. And this thing that I'm writing for you, if you hold on to it, you will not be led astray after me. So then the second Khalifa turns around and he says, إِنَّ الرَّجُلَ لَيَهْجُرُ, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam has become delirious. The second Khalifa, who was supposed to be the representative of Rasulullah, supposed to, not is, he says that Rasulullah has become sick on the deathbed. Don't give him a pen and paper. But the Quran says, ask the people of knowledge if you do not know. And the Ahlul Bayt say that we are the people of knowledge. Ask us. In another hadith, Imam al-Rida mentions in Hourani al-Akhbar, he says that knowledge in itself is Rasulullah, and we are the family of Rasulullah. So if we want to look at a ta'weeli aspect to the Quran, Allah doesn't say this, but we can take this from the ayah, فَاسْأَلُوا آلِ مُحَمَّدٍ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. This is the ta'weeli type. Remember, ta'weel is the outer aspect of the Quran, of the meaning of the Quran. Ask us the Ahlul Bayt if you don't know. And that's why when Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas on the 10th of Muharram looks at al-Hussein, he looks at him as a master of the thaqalain that Rasulullah spoke about, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Another thing that we can speak about is something that everyone asks, and something that many people write on social media. There is no such thing as, for example, Sunni and Shia. We are all one ummah. There is nothing wrong by saying that we are one ummah. However, let's look back at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Someone says to you, brother, you know, there was no such thing as Shia in the time of Rasulullah. How would you respond? Does anyone here have a response that they can respond with straight away? Inshallah, I will give you a response that we can try to use to help ourselves, because we need to understand our religion. We need to understand why we are Shia. I'm not a Shi'i because my father is a Shi'i and my father's father's father is a Shi'i. No, we don't want this. We want to be Shia because we have read, we have seen the evidence. Ibn Asakir al-Dimashqi is one of the scholars from the sect of our brothers. He narrates this. Jalaluddin al-Suyuti also narrates this. And Ibn Hajar narrates this. These are historians that our Sunni brothers rely on. And one of these wrote a book against the Shia. And subhanAllah, he mentions this exact hadith in it. Let's first break this down before I get into the hadith. Were there Shia in the time of Rasulullah or not? I ask you a question, I want people to answer. Was there Shia in the time of Rasulullah or not?
Yes.
If I ask you how?
Because the Prophet told Imam Ali. First there was, like we all know, like Salman and Baghdad,
No.
Abu Dhar,
No.
Ammar ibn Yasir,
No.
they are the Shia of Imam Ali. And it was well known that by that time that Imam Ali has Shia. Like
No.
it's just normal. Like, you know, today you see a lot of let's say mergers or whatever, you know, like has a group, a lot of people follow different leaders today in Iraq. It was like this.
Correct.
It was like Hizab, you know.
Exactly the response that we all need to memorize. Amir al-Mu'mineen had companions that were with him and were against the rest. When the crew met up in Saqifat Bani Sa'ida, where were the likes of Salman, Miqdad, Ammar, where were they? They were all ready to go and stand up with Amir al-Mu'mineen, while the other people were in Saqifat Bani Sa'ida trying to say that we want to become the leaders after the Prophet. And that's why in the books, Kitab Sulaym ibn Qais, it is mentioned that when the attack and everything took place, the companions that were with Amir al-Mu'mineen were Salman, were Abu Dhar, were these likes. In a hadith that Ibn Asakir mentions in his book, in regards to the term Shia, let's say that we want to put on the side the likes of the companions. I want the word Shia. Did it exist in the time of Rasulullah or not? Ibn Asakir narrates in his book from Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, who was one of the greatest companions of Rasulullah, who also lived until he met Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. He narrates in his book, he says, Jabir ibn Abdullah says that we were once sitting with Rasulullah. Remember, this hadith comes not from our books, from the books of our brothers in the other sect. And search this up. Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari says, we were sitting one day, and then Ali ibn Abi Talib walks into the majlis. While Ali ibn Abi Talib is walking into the majlis, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam turns around and he says, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ هَذَا وَشِيعَتُهُ لَهُمُ الْفَائِزُونَ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. That Ibn Asakir narrates in his book that when we were, on behalf of Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, we were sitting with the Holy Prophet and Ali ibn Abi Talib walks in. So then the Prophet turns around and he looks at Ali ibn Abi Talib and he says, by the one whose hands my soul is in, he, Ali, and his Shia are the victorious ones on the Day of Judgment. And whoever wants to can go search up, Ya Ali anta wa shi'atuka al-faizun Yawm al-Qiyamah, and you'll find the references from the books of our Sunni brothers. So yes, there were companions that were Shia, if you want to label them as that, in the time of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. However, the others left the Holy Prophet, not us. Because if you were to go and ask our brothers from the other sect, what did the Prophet leave behind? What are they going to tell you? Kitabullah wa sunnati. The book of Allah and His Sunnah. We have no problem with the Sunnah of Rasulullah. The Sunnah of Rasulullah is the teachings of Rasulullah. However, before I came up, I did a very quick search. Any random Tom, Dick and Harry can write this hadith up on their phone, and they will find out that the hadith is in Sahih Muslim, one of the two books, or our Sunni brothers have 6 books that are Sahih. One of the 2 most authentic, Al-Bukhari and Muslim. Go look at Sahih Muslim. You will find the hadith where Rasulullah says, I leave for you Quran and Ahlul Bayt. So then someone might respond to you, okay, the wives are from the Ahlul Bayt. Say to them, okay, if we want to use the same hadith, Sahih Muslim, if you read more, they asked, are the wives of the Prophet from the Ahlul Bayt or not? So then the response that they got, once again in Sahih Muslim, it was said to them that no, the wives are not from the Ahlul Bayt. Why? The hadith says, because a wife, when she gets married to someone, she can get divorced to him. And once she becomes divorced, she goes back to her family, back to her ashira. She isn't linked back up to the guy that she was previously married. And that proves to us that the wives are not from the Ahlul Bayt. The Ahlul Bayt are none other than Abil Qasimi Muhammad. Ali, Fatima, Hassan and Hussein, and the Imams from the lineage of which Imam? Which Imams do trace back to which Imam? The rest of our Imams, who do they go back to? Imam Ali, but from which son? Imam Hussein alayhi salam. We need to understand this. There is a hadith, but I don't remember the completeness of it. The Imam alayhi salam was asked, why is it that the Imamah comes from the lineage of Al-Hussein and not Al-Hassan? And we know that Imam Al-Hassan is more greater than Imam Al-Hussein. That's a good question. See, the Ahlul Bayt, as I mentioned yesterday, the companions, they raised their companions in such a way that the companions knew how to ask their Imams questions. So they once came to the Imam, if I am not mistaken, it's Imam Al-Sadiq. They came up, they asked him, they said to him, oh, grandson of Rasulullah, why is it that the Imamah continued from the lineage of Al-Hussein and not the lineage of Al-Hassan? So he says, this is easy. Go back to the Quran. Prophet Musa and Prophet Harun. Who was greater, Musa or Harun? Musa was greater. However, the lineage went through who? Harun. The same thing with Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein. Imam al-Hassan is greater, but the lineage went through Imam al-Hussein. So it has a Quranic root. Everything that the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam presented to us goes back to the Quran. And everything the Quran gave to us goes back to the Ahlul Bayt. Here comes the dangerous aspect. What if I deny the Ahlul Bayt? What if I deny my Imams? The ones in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through them, Allah sends His blessings down to this earth, through their dua. How do we react with the ones that deny their Imamah? Has anyone heard of the story of Ali ibn Abi Hamza al-Bata'ini? From one of the so-called companions of which Imam? Imam al-Kadhimi alayhi salam. In the time of Imam al-Rida, have you ever heard of the Waqifa group? The Waqifa group are a group that stopped believing in the Imams after Imam al-Kadhimi alayhi salam. They were led, some historians and some narratives say they were led by Ali ibn Abi Hamza al-Bata'ini. And he used to be a representative of Imam al-Kadhim. And he used to bring in all the money and then give it to Imam al-Kadhim. When Imam al-Kadhim passed away, Ali ibn Abi Hamza says, mind you, this guy has over 30k, as we would say, 30k, 70k worth of money. He's going to give it to an Imam. This is where money plays with people. It plays with their mentality, with their religion. So Ali ibn Abi Hamza al-Bata'ini says there is no more Imams after Imam al-Kadhim. We only have 7 Imams, no more. When he died, a companion by the name of Abil Hassan, I don't recall his last name, a companion by the name of Abil Hassan walks in to Imam al-Rida, our 8th Imam, the son of al-Kadhim. And Imam al-Rida turns around and says, Ya Abil Hassan, right now Ali ibn Abi Hamza al-Bata'ini has passed away. You find this hadith in Rijalul Kishi or Rijalul Kashi, a book in regards to Ilm al-Rijal. A beautiful book. I recommend everyone reads this to understand their hadiths. In this book, Rijalul Kashi, it's found this hadith. And in Bihar al-Anwar and many other books. Abi Hassan walks into Imam al-Rida. Imam al-Rida says, Ya Abul Hassan, right now Ali ibn Abi Hamza al-Bata'ini has passed away and they are now taking him into his grave. Everyone left him, he is now sitting in the grave by himself. And then he says, Oh Abul Hassan, at this moment the 2 angels of death, the 2 angels in the grave, Nakir and Nakir, they come and they began to ask him, Oh Ali ibn Abi Hamza al-Bata'ini, who is your God? He says, Allah. Oh Ali ibn Abi Hamza, who is your prophet? He says, Rasulullah. Who is your Imam? He says, Ali ibn Abi Talib. And after him, Al-Hasan. After him, Al-Husayn al-Sajjad al-Baqir al-Sadiq al-Kadhim. And then he stops. Oh Ali ibn Abi Hamza, who are your Imams? He stops at Imam al-Kadhim. So the hadith say, they scream in his face, Oh Ali ibn Abi Hamza, who is your Imam? He says, up to Imam al-Kadhim, that's all I believe in. So they say the angels went and they hit his grave with a torch type of thing of fire, and then Imam al-Rida says his grave will remain on fire until the day of judgment. That's what you get for rejecting the Ahlul Bayt. It's a message for all of us. It's a message for all of us, my brothers and sisters, that don't let your money get in the way of your relationship between you and your Imams. Don't let your money get in the way between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The same way you woke up and you had money in your bank, you can go to sleep the next day, you've been locked out of your bank account. Don't play with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're playing with fire. Alhamdulillah, the sisters from the other side, before I came in, they asked me to mention this one aspect. Alhamdulillah, with the tawfiq of Allah and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, we have welcomed in another sister into the madhab, into the school of the Ahlul Bayt. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses this sister and makes it easy upon her, and inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resurrects her with Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, and she is able to assist in the army with the rest of the sisters inshallah. Because the sisters have Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Subhanallah. The insan's fitrah goes towards the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. Ziyarah al-Jami' al-Kabira says enough. Whoever wants to read it, read this ziyarah. It's amazing. It's profound in its meaning. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Abil Fadl al-Abbas. I don't know where to start when it comes to his tragedy. A man like al-Abbas. Everyone goes and they knock on his door and they come and their baskets are filled. Their needs are fulfilled. Everything that they have They asked the Ahlul Bayt. You see, in Ziyarat Ashura, and my brothers and sisters, I highly recommend everyone recites Ziyarat Ashura. This ziyarah is a hadith Qudsi based on the likes of Ibn Qawluway's opinions and the opinions of our grand scholars. In this ziyarah, what do we recite? Allahumma ja'alni 'indaka wajihan bil Husayn. Oh Allah, make my face white when it comes to me making dua in the name of Al-Husayn. And I've been mentioning throughout these nights, Imam al-Husayn should cause me to reform myself. I need to change my friends if they're bad friends. I need to reform who I am, because Al-Husayn alayhi salam should make me pursue a degree, should make me pursue a family, should make me become the best version of myself. And that's why Imam al-Husayn summarizes his message. He says, I left to call in the name of Islam. I will wrap up as soon as I can. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, when he was being raised, his mother al-Baleen used to always say to him, O Abbas, just because you are the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib, it doesn't give you permission for you to call Al-Husayn your brother. Understand this. It does not give you the permission to call Al-Husayn your brother. Why? You look at Husayn as your master. They are the children of Fatima and you're my son. We cannot go near the children of Fatima. They are a creation like no other. You are to be in their service. If they need help, you are to go and help them. Do not walk in front of Al-Husayn. Always be there to support Al-Husayn. Anything he needs, you are to be the first one, to be the one that fulfills this. Many times on the 10th of Muharram, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas asks Al-Husayn to fight. However, Al-Husayn keeps saying to him, O Abbas, no. O Abbas, no. O Abbas, no. I don't give you permission to fight. Until it reached the point where the daughters of Imam al-Husayn come and they say, O uncle, O Abbas, we're thirsty. O uncle, we need water. Al-Abbas can't see the children of the daughters of Fatima say to him, Oh uncle, we're thirsty, and he doesn't get them water. He goes to Al-Husayn. He says to him, Oh my master, I have one favor. Don't turn me down with this favor. Abbas, what is it? I will give you my soul. What do you need? He says, Your daughters have come and they've said to me, Oh uncle, we are thirsty. We need water, and oh Hussein, we have no water left in our camp. Give me permission to go out and get water for the daughters. Al-Hussein didn't want to give him permission, but he gave him permission. He says, okay brother, I will go on the west and you go on the east of the battlefield. You hold this banner and I hold this banner. The way that we can stay into contact with each other is I will call out Ana ibn Fatima and you call out Ana ibn Ali. So he goes out, Al-Hussein goes. You see, Al-Allam al-Majlisi, towards the end of Juz' number 44 and the start of number 45 in Bihar al-Anwar, he speaks about Karbala. And he says that everyone on the 10th was scared. However, the more they would look at Al-Hussein, they'd see a smile on his face. Except when Al-Abbas went out. They say that Al-Abbas and Ali al-Akbar, they say that when these two went out, he went red. Al-Abbas, Ali al-Akbar, inshallah, on the 9th night, I will have a beautiful bahath on Ali al-Akbar. So he says, go out. You hold this flag, I'll hold this flag. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas goes out. He goes, he reaches the water. He holds the water in his hand. He doesn't want to drink. Those that say he wanted to drink, they're mistaken. He doesn't want to drink. Because he looks at the water And he says, يا نفس من بعد الحسين هوني فلا كنت أو تكون. That, oh soul, without Hussein you are worthless. You are nothing. أتشربين ماء. Do you drink water, Abbas? And Al-Hussein is thirsty? He looks at the water and he remembers Al-Hussein, not with the intention of drinking. He remembers Al-Hussein and he throws his hands back down. This is a message for you and I. When I have haram in my hand, how do I deal with it? Do I throw it back down, or do I ignore Al-Hussein and ignore Allah and go deep into it? Into haram, drinking, substances, wallahu a'lam. So he goes, he gets the container and he fills the container up with water. At this time, they say that when Al-Abbas alayhi salam went into the battlefield, over 2,000 men had encompassed him. They surrounded him. So they hid behind the tree. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas fills up the container with water. He rides on his horse. SubhanAllah, they say that Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas was so beautiful. From within his characteristics, he had long hands and long legs, that when he would ride on the horse, his legs would touch the ground. That's Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, the beauty. So he's holding the water in a container, and then someone comes from behind him. While Al-Abbas is holding the water, a man comes and he strikes the right hand of Al-Abbas with a sword, and the right hand of Al-Abbas falls onto the ground. So what does Al-Abbas say? Wallahi in qata'tumu yamini. By Allah, if you are to cut my left hand, أحامي أبدا عن ديني وعن إمام صادق يقيني. That if you want to cut my hand, this won't stop me from going and fighting in the way of my master. They say that Al-Abbas held the water in his left hand. When he is writing, how do you hold water with your left hand and hold the horse at the same time? You have to choose. So he's holding like this the water. They say that they piece an arrow into the container that was holding the water. Just imagine, how did Al-Abbas feel at that moment? Al-Abbas is holding the water and his horse is going. At this moment, another enemy comes and he chops the left hand of Al-Abbas, and Al-Abbas was left with no hands. Now the water has fallen. Al-Abbas is riding on his horse, no hands. He's riding like this, the horse is going left and right. He's trying to stabilize himself. They say that an enemy comes from behind him. He gets a pole and he hits the head of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas to the extent that Al-Abbas falls onto the ground. When Al-Abbas is on the ground, what takes place? They come, they throw arrows. They do as much as they can to hurt Al-Abbas. At this moment, Al-Abbas is covered in arrows, he's covered in stab wounds from the knives. The blood is all over his face. Everything is covering his face. He can't see what's happening. He hears footsteps from behind him. He calls out, "O person that is walking, please don't kill me until my master Al-Hussein comes." My master Al-Hussein comes. Who approached Al-Abbas? It was none other than Imam Al-Hussein. He says, "Ya Abbas, O Abbas, Hissahsiyan yammak." That, O Abbas, your brother Hussein has now come to you. They say, how does one keep a turban on their head when it comes to the musibah of Al-Abbas? They say that when Al-Abbas alayhi salam is on the ground, Imam Al-Hussein tried to put him into his lap. Abu Fadl Abbas would keep moving. Imam Al-Hussein would ask him, "O Abbas, why are you moving?" He says to him, "O Master, now when I am about to die, I have someone to rest in their lap. However, when you die, O Hussein, in whose lap are you going to rest in?" So Al-Hussein screams out, Al-an inkasara dhahri. That's right, now my back has broken. One word Al-Hussein has been waiting to hear all his life. Brother. So Al-Abbas turns around, he says to him, Ya akhi ya Aba Abdullah. That, oh my brother, oh Hussein, please, leave me to die how I am. I can't bear to think that you will be left alone on the 10th of Muharram. Oh Abbas, did they tell you what they did to Al-Hussein? Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq says, فرقة بالسيوف وفرقة بالسهام وفرقة بالحجارة. People throw rocks at Al-Hussein, people throwing arrows at Al-Hussein, and people coming and stabbing Al-Hussein alayhi salam. Until they say that they pulled the beard of Al-Hussein, and Shimr did what he had done. Understand this مصيبة. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج وامن علينا برضاه وهب لنا رأفته ورحمته ودعاءه. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج وامن علينا برضاه. اللهم اجعلنا عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. وصلى الله على محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.